BMW E39. Things to know. So my notes all blew away. I want to make sure I didn't miss stuff. All my different vehicles, I got a lot of different websites I go to. BMW World, BimmerWorld.com, and Bimmer forums. They're huge. And they're pretty proud of themselves as far as we have all the knowledge. But you should go looking for an answer. And if you don't know everybody, they don't know you on that forum, and you search and search and search, can't find what you're looking for, you ask the question, guaranteed someone's going to, you should have searched. You didn't search right. And they tell you how terrible you are. So for the E39, the best place I found online for answers, for the most part, is E46 Fanatics. Sounds weird, but they're the same basic car. All the components are the same, not the same basic car. The basic stuff is, or the important stuff is the same. And what works for one works for the other. E46 Fanatics, they are more agreeable to having someone show up and say, hey, how do you do this? Or how does this work? And if you want the best thing about E46s, the ZHP Mafia, that website. They know more about the E46 or share more and are friendlier to people. Anyway, website politics. Not trying to bash too many people. Piper's helping me out. This all started because I was on, this video is because I was on the Miata net for the Miata stuff. And there's a thread going on about, share the misery of broken BMW on the Miata net. And someone's like, I'm looking to get an E39. Okay. So I wrote a little bit in response, and he's like, no one has that anywhere. It's like, okay, that's a video opportunity. Now, that happened a month or two ago, and I didn't make the video because it's summertime in Texas, and I was hoping for a cloudy day. We've not had one in a couple months. When it's below 105 out, right now it's only 80, 85, somewhere in there, and the sun is still behind the trees. So I gotta get this going. All right. Cool thing about BMWs, and I don't know, I've not been able to figure this out. I've searched and searched, can't figure it out. Whether the Japanese did it or the Germans did it first. But anybody who grew up with American vehicles in the 80s, from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, remembers T-tops and the sunroofs they had and how they all leaked and rattled. And if you were driving in the rain with T-tops and the T-tops were on, you were gonna get wet. Well, I'm not sure. The Germans or Japanese, I don't know which, because the Miata, it's a convertible top that works because it lets the water in. All the British and American vehicles tried to keep the water out, and it always leaked. The Japanese with the Miata, Mazda with the Miata, let the water in, and we'll have a little channel to catch it. The top's over here, the body, it's both the body over here, water goes down in there, and then we'll run it to a spot that has holes that drain down, drain holes. As long as your drain holes are good, the Miata top doesn't leak. First top in production vehicle that didn't leak. It's amazing. Well, the Germans did the same thing with the BMW. When the water hits the window, you'd think this seal here is to keep the water out. No, it's to let the water run down the inside of the door and come out in here. So if you've been raining or you wash your car, your German car, BMW, well, Porsche's the same. You open the door, it's all wet on the sill. That means the drain, everything's working right. Sunroof's the same way. It's made to leak past the actual top, and it will go to drain holes. It looks nice and tight, but it's not watertight. Water gets in there and goes to, there's 4 drain pipes. And the drain pipes, which are a problem on these cars. Drain pipe on this one comes out down here. And if it's clogged up, your floor's wet. If you look at a BMW after it's been raining or been washed and the floor's wet, Sunroof drains are plugged up. Now, if you look at my two hoods here. Oh yeah. Let me see if I'm even in frame on that. Nah, not really. But I'm close enough. BMW. This is the Touring here. 03 525 5-speed. This is a 03 525 sedan, automatic. And this hood, the clear coat's gone. This one's got scratches everywhere. It's dirty right now too. Oh yeah, by the way, this car's for sale. Actually, all three of them are for sale. I'm selling a BMW starter pack, starter kit, whatever you want to call it. It's Facebook Marketplace. E39 starter kit. So this one, the grill panels are pretty tight. This one, they're loose. But you can't take them off of here to put on a different hood without breaking. They're like 60 bucks a piece or more. This is the best hood of the three. This one actually came off of the Parts Touring, which is an 01 525 automatic Touring. This hood is actually the hood off of this car when I got it, but it was on here for a while because it looked better than this hood, or better than that hood. Anyway, okay. BMWs don't hold, their clear coat doesn't work in the Texas sun. Something about Texas sun, which leads to things under the hood. Let me raise the hood up on this one. Oh yeah, this little hook right here, that's how you get, can you see that? No, you can't see that. This handle is what you pick up the hood to open it. Well, when you pop the latch inside, pick up on the hood, you can feel the little latch there, and then you can pick the hood up. And there's two catches. There's one cable that goes over to here, another cable that goes over there. A lot of times, one of these cables will break on people, and then you're in a world of hurt. I have had it to where when I was swapping hoods or pulling engines and whatnot, one of these cables came off, and it is a royal pain to get these hoods out. There's two latches there. So make sure you keep these lubricated and look in there at your cables. All right. Why do I have three BMWs? I have three BMWs because I was stupid. I bought a BMW, a 2003 330i, that the guy said the engine needed replacement. It was cheap. But his description was his wife drove to the mall in San Antonio in the summertime, came back out of the mall, and the car would just go zzz, just spin like crazy. Wouldn't start. And he said he took it, had it towed somewhere, and they said, you got no compression. Bad engine, replace the engine. Took it somewhere else, bad compression, replace the engine. It's like, you don't lose compression when all you do is drive it and get out and get back in. Then I found something really neat online. I researched that. The temperature sensor for your display of how the outside temperature inside is underneath the inner fender of the passenger side. It's just a little probe. And if you hit a curb or you park next to a parking thing, the little concrete parking stops, which I've done, and it rips it off, the temperature sensor is broken. The fallback temperature is negative 40 degrees. Historical trivia here, negative 40 is the same in Fahrenheit and Celsius. It's the only temperature that's the same. It's cold. Well, that also feeds the engine computer, the DME. And when the engine computer thinks you have negative 40 outside, even though it's 105 outside, it just floods like the old, used to have a choke on vehicles or your weed eater or whatever, you pull the choke, you want to get a bunch of fuel in there to get started up because the colder it is, the harder the fuel is to light on fire, and you want more fuel and less air. The computer just floods the engine with fuel. it's 105 degrees outside, you don't need that. And it washes the cylinder walls clean. And you can get a no compression condition. I had read about that. I offered the guy a really low price on that 330. So I thought he was just stupid. Turns out I was stupid. I go pick it up, battery is dead. It's like, that's okay. I don't got to worry about doing my little trick. I got it home on the trailer. If you floor it and crank for 30 seconds, by flooring it, you turn off the fuel pump. Crank for 30 seconds. Stop, keep it open, keep it floored. Wait a minute for the starter to cool down. Crank for 30 seconds. Wait another minute. Crank for 30 seconds. The third, fourth, maybe fifth time, it will clear itself out and it'll start going, wind up. Well, I did not know when I looked at it that how you check the coolant on a BMW. This is how you check it. That is supposed to be between the threads for the cap down here. It's not like a regular vehicle. You can see that, right? Let's make sure you can see that. Yes, you can see that. See how it's between the threads? You can see liquid way down there, but it doesn't matter. That little float is supposed to be inside the threads of this. There's a little picture of it here too. The float's way up here, you got too much. Well, I was looking at this dead 330 in San Antonio in an apartment parking lot on a Saturday morning, and I could see the float thingy way down there. I didn't know what it was, but I could see liquid down there too. Turns out it was almost a gallon low on coolant, and it's only a 2-gallon system. And it had severely bad head gasket and warped head. But that's how you check the coolant level. Don't be like me. Don't be stupid. All right. There's not really much to show on this. Well, I guess I can do that. Power steering's right here. That's your oil filter. All right. Aluminum engine, aluminum head, angled, I think 30 degrees. Twin cams, 4 valves per cylinder. The valves on the 01s and newer, the valve timing is adjustable. I cannot say it in German, but V-A-N-O-S. I call it Vanos. Vanos is the valve, the variable valve timing technology. Mazda calls theirs VVT, variable valve timing, but BMW calls it Vanos. The Vanos is controlled by oil pressure. Oil is diverted from solenoids. There's a solenoid right here, another one down over there, that move oil around to change the timing of the camshafts. The O-rings that seal that up aren't very good. They dry, harden, and valve timing is not as good. It'll still run, it won't run very good. It'll idle just fine, but when you get up RPMs and your mileage will be down, your power's down, it just doesn't go. So you have to pull all this off, pull this thing off, replace I've done that on this one. It's not that tough. It costs, time you get a valve cover gasket or cam cover gasket and other things like that, you might be at $50 to $100, maybe, in a bunch of time. But if you're looking at one of these and that has not been done, you might want to have the price lowered by a bunch, because it's going to be several hours to do. All right, let me get on this side of the car. The intake manifold. To make this engine so it could perform well and get good mileage, the intake manifold, the air comes, here's the mouth, Air comes in through here, mass airflow sensor, into the throttle body down there, up into the intake manifold. And the intake manifold is actually two different intakes. There is a short runner system and a long runner system. This thing here, this thing here is the DISA valve, D-I-S-A. I don't know what it means in German. I just know the DISA valve is a flapper that is electrically and vacuum controlled, or electrically monitored vacuum controlled, that goes between long runner, short runner, path for the air. And they break. The pivot points break, and your diesel used to be flapping. So if you start one of these up, or you're looking at one, it's going clack, 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 clack. You hear it clunk? It's probably the diesel valve's bad. I rebuilt this diesel. There's a company, well, I got their fuel cap, German Auto Solutions. The GAS, German Auto Solutions, they have a diesel rebuild kit. And I think they had free shipping or some kind of offer when I did it. If you spend so much money, I bought their aluminum 1.2 bar or 17.4 psi coolant cap, because the stock BMW plastic cap is, I think, 28, 29 psi, which leads to the next thing. Everything in the cooling system, mine except for this, is plastic. There's an aluminum heater core down there, but everything else is plastic or tubing. And the rule of thumb is every 5 years or 80,000 miles, replace it all. Radiator, there's an auxiliary coolant pump, there's a mechanical pump, all the hoses. The fun part is, underneath the intake manifold, there's two hard plastic lines. You have to remove the intake to get to them. So if you get one of these, or you have one of these that's kind of old, and you want to refresh it, do the DISA at the same time you're doing the coolant lines, intake gasket. I went ahead and redid my power steering reservoir and hoses. My oil filter pedestal way down there was leaking at the block. I ordered a new one. I did all that at one time, because I had it all apart anyway. And I did the Vanos at the same time. If you look at one of these or have one of these that's got more than 80,000 miles or more than 5 years, and somebody's gone through the cooling system, be very, very weary of it. Because, let's see, the back touring over there had 110,000 miles on it when someone burned up the engine. Probably because it had bad coolant pieces. When I pulled it apart, I couldn't, well, the engine's out of that one. I don't remember, we really couldn't define, yes, this is what caused it to overheat, but it overheated. This one actually had bad transmission, but the engine still good on that one. Overheated BMWs are very, very common on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace places. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, this engine's called the M54. I own 3 M54 engines. One works. One's burned up from heat. One, I tried to start with a low battery and the anti-theft kicked in, and now I can't make it start up anymore. I can spray starter fluid down the MAF and it'll fire up, but anyway, that's a different problem. All right, the M54 engine. BMW, I think the last stat I saw a couple years ago was almost 80% of all BMWs that leave the lot leave under a lease. So all BMW has to do, from the factory point of view, is make a vehicle last the lease. That's as far as the warranty goes, 36,000 miles normally. So they wanted to have better performance, better miles per gallon, so they put oil control rings on the pistons on these ones that don't have much pressure pushing out against the cylinder walls. It's good for 30 to 80,000 miles. After that, they start blowing oil. This one has 222,000, I think 700 miles on it. For the last 40,000 miles that I've owned it, it is every 300 to 500 miles I got to add a quart. They're all that way. Most ads for BMWs have an oil jug in the back seat. Oh yeah, BMW, they have their own computer language. And you have to have a BMW specific scanner to talk to it. Just something to be aware of. ECS tuning or Amazon is your best spot for those. See how wonderfully opaque, get this weed out of the way, these headlights are? These headlights were actually on my car when I got it. And I had cleaned them actually. But the trouble is, the adjustment screws are plastic and they break. These ones had broken adjustment screws. When I first started driving this car with those headlights in it, I could see about 3 feet in front of me. And what you have to do is you got to pull the bucket out, pull the lights out, the bulbs out, use forceps, and it's called the ship in the bottle fix. I put plastic ones back in these buckets, which they're dirty and right now, but I'm getting a little bit of sun degradation on there. I gotta clean these ones up again. I did the ship in the bottle fix to both of these, and now I can adjust my lights and I can see. It's really pretty nice. But if you get one of these and you walk up to it, just try wiggling the low beam light. If it wiggles up and down, the adjusters are shot. You either gotta buy new $700 a piece light buckets, or you gotta do the ship in the bottle fix. Now, you might have noticed on my this car has anti-lock brakes, Bosch anti-lock brakes, and there are some pieces inside this circuit board inside there that control this. They're very temperature sensitive. So BMW put this on top of the exhaust manifold. Yeah, that little piece of heat right there, shielding, is supposed to keep it cool. This is the exhaust manifold right there. They put that there. I was driving home one day a couple years ago and all my ABS lights came on. Traction control, ABS, and cruise control wouldn't work, all kind of stuff. What? I finally figured out if it was above 80 degrees outside and I'd driven it for more than 5 minutes, the lights all came on, I lost ABS and everything else. This part here, you can unscrew. This thing, I need a screwdriver. Pull that out, lid comes up, undo 6 screws, this comes off. It's very easy to do. If you get a new one of these for about $1,200, it has to be programmed to your car. And only the dealer has the right programming software to do that, which means it's going to be more than $1,200. I took this one off and sent it to a place. What was the name of that place? Does it say who it is? Module Master. I think they're in Moscow, Idaho, or somewhere up north. ModuleMaster.com. 208 area code, wherever that is. They rebuilt it, sent it back to me in less than a week, and it's been perfect ever since. That's the one that was on here, no coating required. But that is a common problem on all these vehicles. Again, why they put that right above the exhaust manifold, I don't know. Talked about the DISA. Oh yeah. Pixels. I'm not even going to show it. The inside the dash. Let me just back up and sit on the bumper. You got your gauge cluster, which has LED pixels, and then you have what everyone else calls a radio, but BMW calls a MID, multi-information display. And the mid is tied into the gauge cluster. As in, you can make it so things that show up on the gauge cluster show up over there and blah, blah, blah. You can track your mileage over on the mid, all that kind of stuff. Well, the pixels get bad. Actually, the ribbon, printed circuit ribbon, the ends get bad. I spent 60 some odd dollars, bought a kit from somewhere in England, redid my mid. I couldn't read a thing on it. I couldn't read what station I was on. I couldn't read the time. Couldn't tell my miles per gallon. I redid the ribbon, put it back in. I can see the time. I can see everything on it, but there's one strip right down the middle that's dead. I figured I'm 95% better. I'm not going back and doing it again. The gauge cluster's got the same problem. In fact, all three of these have bad. Well, the 110-mile touring back there, the parts touring, the 01, it actually has excellent pixels, but it's only got 110,000 miles on it. This one's got 222,000 miles. If I swap clusters, it'll plug right in, but if I swap clusters, it's going to have this big tampering light shining because it's not the right cluster for this car. So I haven't done it. If you get one of these or you have one of these with bad pixels, there's a guy on Facebook called Fixel. Fix Pixels. He's somewhere in the DC, Baltimore area. I've not used him, but I've read and heard good results from him. Fixels on Facebook. What else do I have to talk about here? Oh yeah, the BMW language is called, I call it IMPA, I-M-P-A. That's the OBD2 language to find out what's going on. And these things all have the mass airflow sensor ducting to the intake throttle body always seems to get holes in it. And this thing here is for the supplemental air system, which when it's cold out, there's an air pump underneath the fender here that pumps air into the exhaust, so the catalytic converters are seeing lots and lots of air with the rich fuel because it's cold. And there's a leak somewhere all the time in all of them. There's a vacuum line that goes and controls it, and that vacuum line a lot of times gets rots, gets holes in it. But that's pretty much all the common things you're going to have with a E39. Now, I saw these bad things about them. The reason I still have this one is for sale, but I'm not really in a hurry to sell it because it's summertime in Texas. This thing has the best air conditioning I've ever had in a vehicle. It is amazing air conditioning, and that makes it really, really nice. It's a very comfortable car to ride in. It's not a drag racer. It's not a street racer, but it is a very, very comfortable car to drive. It is a great get on the highway, set the cruise at, well, around here 75 and 70 are the cruise control, the speed limits leaving my town. So set the cruise 75 or so and drive for an hour, and it is comfortable and cool. They're good vehicles, but they're not that happy. This one's not happy in town. This is a manual, and you really got to kind of push it to go somewhere. You're kind of rowing the gears. But the automatics, I imagine you put in sport mode, otherwise you wouldn't get to shift anywhere. One other thing I can say about these cars is parts. When I redid my cooling system, excuse me, I bought all the parts from FCP Euro, Foreign Car Parts European, FCP Euro in Connecticut. It was a lot of money. I spent months saving up the money and buying pieces here and there from FCP Euro. So I plan to keep on this is 4 years ago now. I redid the entire cooling system. I did the valve cover, the coils, the plugs, everything. The entire cooling system, every hose, every line, everything except the heater core and the temperature control valve. Fan clutch. I didn't do the fan, just the fan clutch. Water pump, thermostat, did everything. I finished on a Saturday evening. The following Wednesday, I was at a military truck club meeting over in Austin. Coming back middle of the night, this big fat raccoon decided to commit suicide. I saw him. I moved over. He was still there, so I moved over to the other side of the road. And right at the last minute, 10 o'clock at night on a cold November night, he comes running out in front of me. Boom. I smelled antifreeze right away. I smelled the antifreeze before all the warning lights lit up on the dash, and the lights went dim, everything went bad. If you have one of these, the headlights are hooked to the key. So if you turn the key off, your lights go off. Just keep that in mind if you're in a situation with one of these cars where you got to turn it off driving down the highway. So I turned it off, had no headlights, waited the engine stopped moving, turned the key back on so I had lights, coasted to a stop. It had tore up my brand new radiator, fan, power steering pulley, all the hoses in the bottom, all kinds of damage. Basically, it was about $900 worth of parts that I just installed on the car for a big fat suicidal raccoon. FCP has a lifetime warranty on all their parts. You have to buy the parts again. And I did that. They showed up, and there's a special form you can fill out online, or you get a mail back with your old one. So I held a new radiator, all the new pieces show up. I stuffed all the broken pieces back into in a trash bag first because they're full of coolant. And back inside the same box they sent it to me, sent it back to them, and on the form, it said reason for return. I put big fat suicidal raccoon. 2 weeks later, ding, one morning I got a whole bunch of money in my account because they refunded me all the money for the parts I just had. And the note said, ha ha. So I like FCP Euro. And no, they don't sponsor me. I don't get parts from them. I just, as a consumer, it's value added because you get 100% guarantee or warranty on your stuff. Enough story time. E39s. Oh yeah, this one, I'm not trying to get into E stories because the E1 to E39. The E38 was the 7 Series in the late 90s, I think till 98. Then the E39 came out in 97 for the 5 Series. I don't know what the 40, the 41, 42, 43, 44, and 45 are, but the E46 was the 3 Series in 01, 02, somewhere in there. Anyway, the E38 7 Series stuff has a lot of crossover to the E39 5 Series, like the seats. I have the E38 18-way adjustable seats in this one. They bolt right in. Now, one thing you gotta be wary of is there's airbags. The controller, there's a yellow, mine has a yellow plug on it. My car has a yellow plug, my seats are made for the yellow plug. If you're gonna swap seats between different models, make sure the airbag plug is the same color. And that should pretty much do it. Oh, no, it's not doing it. Keys. Keys. Oh yeah, E39s, the cup holders are terrible. Just don't even plan on drinking anything unless you hold it in your lap. Okay. This is the key that came with my car. And amazingly enough, push the middle button, car locks. Push that, it unlocks. It works. I only have one key. I ended up buying this key. Apparently BMW. Let me back up and reset the thingy so I can just tell the story again. Sorry, I thought I was done telling stories. Each BMW supposedly came with 3 keys. Yeah. 2 of these, maybe 4 keys. A non-remote function key and a valet key. The valet key limited what you couldn't unlock the glove box with it and other things like that. And each car is allotted up to, I think, 9 or 10 keys in Munich. After that, you can't get any more keys. So I found online, it wasn't eBay, it was a dealer, for $150, a dealer in, I want to say New Jersey. This has been 3 years, I forget the name of the company. That I sent them my VIN, a copy of my registration that had the thing in my name, and a copy of my driver's license. 2 weeks later, I got a brand new key in the mail. And as long as you had another key, there's a process. You turn it on, turn it off, put this one in there, turn it on, turn it off, push open with this one, push open. I forget the syncing procedure, but I did it myself. No dealership involved except to get the key. And now I got 2 keys. So you're looking at, that was around $180 to $200. That was before COVID, so I don't know what the price is now. BMW keys. They're not near as bad as Porsche keys as far as expensive, but to get them is a pain. If you're looking at a car, you find 2 cars that are pretty much the same and one has 2 keys, the other one only has 1 key, is beat up and the fob doesn't work, you're a couple $100 ahead if you get the one that has the double keys or multiple keys. And I really think that's about all the E39 stuff I can tell you. Fun cars, but they got their issues. Their personality. Yeah, their personality.